So we're not running our preschool. We can have guests and all that stuff this year, but on a normal year, we do obviously have preschool here. Annie's here with me. Annie is a second year student. She's a senior this year at Heartland. She was with me last year as a junior until we shut down because of COVID. So a couple of things. I pretty much gear this a little bit towards like teaching like the preschoolers here at Brighton High School for our Poos Corner program, but also you are in placement Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays of normal weeks. And basically my goal is to get you as much experience working with kids as possible. So if you want to go into teaching, great. If you want to go into counseling, which Annie kind of wants to go into counseling / social work stuff, then that's awesome. Anything like related to kids, is really like my goal. So to get you interacting with kids, to get you experience working with kids, typically they're going to be in a classroom setting, preschool settings up to 3rd grade. So especially if like the little ones aren't necessarily like your top choice, then you do have some options to get some experience with some older kids too. So it's a 2-hour block class for a full year. So and like Annie, if you are incoming juniors, you do have the opportunity to take this class again a 2nd year as a senior, how Annie is. Work towards getting your CDA. You don't get it all the way, but at least like you get pretty much up until you get to decide if you want to apply and then take the test as well. So kind of work towards that. But yeah, so otherwise, we try to give you, like I said, as much experience working with kids as possible. All right, in a lot of different settings, and it's a rotation system. So you'd be here at Brighton High School with me and my preschool director for about 6 to 7 weeks, and then we rotate around. All right, so you would go to a kindergarten classroom in the Brighton district. So all of your placements will be within Brighton. All right, so I know there's different programs do different things, but that's the way we do it in Brighton too. So all of your placements will be in Brighton. I have great connections with people in Brighton now. So so that's where I keep people in-house. And then we typically meet on Mondays and Fridays. All right, so I'm assuming, at least hopefully next year, we'll have more of a normal schedule without kind of our virtual days and all of that. So obviously that's all subject to change, but on a normal schedule, all right, I would see you Mondays and Fridays once placements get started around October-ish is normally when we do that, to kind of get you prepped and ready before you head out to placements and stuff like that. Are there any questions that anybody might have?
I had a question about the CDA. Do they have to take the class for 2 years to be eligible to do that? And if not,
Yes.
how does 1 year benefit them?
1 year benefits you for sure, just getting some hours and experience with kids for sure. So it gives you 275 or 245. I think it's 275. Yeah, so 275 hours, which typically I know Annie's worked in daycares and stuff like that. You can potentially put me down as a reference, put that stuff down, and you can potentially get paid a little bit more per hour, especially kind of going into your senior year summer and stuff like that, which would be a huge benefit as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any students?
Any other questions?
Oh, sorry. I don't see any in the chat. Lindsay, can you tell me, is your class typically that block? I can't remember. Is it usually always in the morning, or it's always in the afternoon, right? Because of the placements? Okay.
Yep, always in the afternoon. So about around 12:20, 12:20 in the afternoon until about 2:15.
Okay. Now, if they were working at a placement, would they only work for those hours, or are they required to work over that?
Nope, just for those hours.
Okay.
Just within those hours. So at 2:15, they can head home or head to practice or head wherever they need to go.
Okay, good. Do you find any challenges for students coming from another school to Brighton?
I don't know. I might have to have Annie answer that. Are there any challenges?
Generally, it should be fine for some juniors who don't have their license yet. Sometimes it's about getting a ride. And if you have a friend who's going with you and they have their driver's license, or in my situation, my parents drove me for the first semester of my first year because I didn't have my driver's license yet. That was just kind of something that complicated it, but it is really nice to kind of, especially if you're liking like a break in your day, like you don't like to be at school all the time and you need something that like is more hands-on. It's really good for students like that because I get out of my school at 11 o'clock and then I have a good hour and 15 minutes until I have to be in this class, and that's really good for me. And then it's a hands-on class, so you're doing like art projects and like making really cool stuff like making slime for kids and like setting up art at projects and like playing with the kids all the time. And it's just really good for people who are like don't like that very structured kind of like learning one thing and then taking a test. Like we don't do very many tests in the class, and it's very just hands-on overall learning, kind of like learning about the big picture of things and then using that in like a teacher class experience, and using that to teach.
Great. And then do they receive any other certifications, like anything to do with bloodborne pathogens, CPR, that type of thing?
Yep. So they do have bloodborne pathogen training we have to do. They also get a TB test as well for qualifications as well, like to be able to get into or just like working with kids at like a certain amount of like hours per week per our state licensing, which we have for our preschool here. And then CPR, yes, I try to get CPR certified as well. So that we'll have that credential as well before they leave.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about some of your, I know that the kids go out into the community and work with those employers. Do they have opportunities, do you think, after taking the class to become employed within those businesses more so than others?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yep, I would think so for sure. Especially probably our largest one around is Tot Spot, which is our large early childhood center, which typically we go, did we tour last year there or not?
No, did we had a placement there?
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
Right when we stopped, so my junior year, so last year in like this time when we went on COVID, I actually started working at a daycare. And the only reason I got hired, because they're very specific with like daycares and preschools on who they hire. Everyone I worked with was either graduated from college with their early childhood education degree, or they were in college. I only worked with one other high schooler who was in a similar situation like me. And you're only going to get hired because you have this experience. And going in, I had however many hours and plus all of this experience. So it really helped me get that job. And then on top of it, I did well in that job because I had this experience ahead of time. And
Sure.
you make a lot of money from that versus like other jobs where you couldn't make as much because you have this experience and you have this like basically kind of like a credential.
Sure.
Great.
Yep. And really it's just like experience. So I mean, really like it's one thing for me like to be up in front of like my class, like talking about different discipline situations and different like role plays and different things like that. But it's a totally different ballgame when you have like a group of like preschoolers, when you have a group of 10 or 8 of them like around you, or if like you're with a small group of kindergartners, you know, like really like that experience being with those kids is really when you learn the most for sure.
Right. It's actually working before you go to work, right? Learning
Exactly. Yes.
exactly what it's like to be in that position while you're in high
Right.
school.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect. That's the best advantage of any CT program.
Yeah.
Is it possible for you
And
to
I mean,
show-
again, I've had kids that are like, you know what, this really, Mrs. J, is not for me, which that's good. I would rather have them go through my program than, you know, like to, you know, spend money like in college and like college credits and, or even like get into like a full-time job and just be like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing here? So
Also the opposite too. I took this class because I wanted to be a high school teacher going in, and I was like, well, teaching, it's kind of the same thing. Now I know I want to work with kids. I don't want to work with older people, which is kind of interesting how it was like, I thought I was going to be older, but now I want to work with younger kids because of this experience.
Right. Perfect. Would it be possible for you to show them around the classroom at all so they can see what the environment is like?
Sure, I can show you around a little bit. And now it is rough, so we don't have like our preschoolers in here, so just like bear with us for a little bit with that.
Okay.
All right. Yep. All right. So Annie will kind of show you around here a little bit. This is our block area, like right over here. So we have all different types of stuff. So, you know, kids can come over. We always have something set up for them when they come in. But then of course they can knock it down, which of course they always love to do. And then they can reset up. All right. So moving on over this way, library area over here. Usually like that blue couch right there is usually pretty popular. Eeyore took a tumble. All right. But Eeyore usually sits right up here. Here's kind of obviously, all right, where they can sit and explore some books and stuff. We have a little writing center over next to there. Okay. Along this area is typically like our manipulative area where like we have stuff set up. Moving along, we have our art table, which actually has some kind of sweet art projects sitting on there right now. But this is like our bean-shaped table, which you can't really see at the moment. But a little art sink back there, kind of like in the background. If you can see the art easel, you can see the cubby areas where the kids come in. We have a sensory table, of course. And then over like in our dramatic play area, I have a couple of my other, they're hiding actually at the moment. Two of my other second year students over here, but this is our dramatic play area. So hugely popular area as well. And then right here is kind of like our rug, like our large group time, our parent board. All right. So kind of it has like all of like the little kid things that you would see. I won't take you into the bathroom because that's like weird. So yeah, so that's kind of like our room and setup. And then my actual classroom side is right like next door. Right. So through some doorways over there. Are there any other questions?
I did have a question in the chat.
We do have a playground actually out here too. So that's kind of nice. With the reflection. Yeah, there you go. All right, so you can kind of see that. So we do like to utilize that area out there for sure, especially in the fall, even in the wintertime sometimes, which those of you that have had experience with little kids, which I'm sure most of you have, you know that sometimes it takes longer to put on the stuff to go outside than it is than we actually spend outside, but to give the kids some of that experience, which is good too. So
sure. I noticed that parent board. Do the students interact with parents to give them that?
They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do some, not like a whole lot. We usually, it's kind of like a drop and go type of thing. But typically, you know, it just depends, like when we have like different holiday parties and stuff, but typically our students are interacting most like with the kids, not so much the parents.
Okay. There are a couple questions in the chat. Someone asked, what is the daily schedule when in this program? I know you covered just a little bit, but maybe your student could just give an idea of what your schedule is like.
Yep. So basically, for the first basically like month, like when school starts, like in September or late August, whenever we start until October, you're going to come to Brighton High School every single day. All right, Monday through Friday. And from about like 12:20 to 2:15. And we're going to get ready, get prepped, get those bloodborne pathogens, get all of like that preliminary stuff out of the way and kind of get you prepped and ready to go with some general info before like we start our preschool here next door around like mid-October. And then yeah, around October 8th, 10th, depending on kind of like when homecoming is and like all of that stuff. So and then once placement starts, I won't see you Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. All right. So unless you're here, like in group number 1, all right, typically, all right, is what Annie was, to start off like our preschool. So if you are in group 2, 3, or 4, I won't see you. You will be out into other, like you might be at Hawkins Elementary, all right, in a first grade classroom. All right. And then we do meet Mondays and Fridays here, same time, 12:20 to 2:15.
Another thing too is when we are at placements, it's from 12:35 until 2:15. And also on top of that, I think the placements are, we've got POOs, we have the centers, then we have private schools and public schools, I think are the 4 general type of placements we do. And only like a group of girls will go as like group 1 in the POOs room first, and then Group 2 will go to centers, Group 3 will go to private schools, and Group 4 will go to public schools. And then it just switches throughout the year. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep, so just like a rotation system for sure.
Okay. Someone had another question. Can you count hours outside of the program like babysitting? Maybe
them
for those hours for the
towards-
CDA?
I'm not entirely sure about that. I would have to check on that.
Okay.
I think they're asking like if there's like a certain amount of hours in classroom you have to complete to
Maybe because it
complete
would
the
have to be
first year.
supervised.
Oh, probably.
So yeah, we don't do like
Yeah.
hours you have to complete the first semester of this
No.
program or like first year of this program. Like there's no certain amount of hours you have to be in classroom or certain amount of hours you have to be at Brighton to complete the program. It's just going through like a normal class.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
And like you'll get a completion certificate, which is like 275 hours, but like for this, and I think Heidi that you said this too, like for all of those, like you have to be supervised. So like you can't ever not be supervised for those hours to count.
Right. Let's see. We have time for one last question. Let's see. Someone said, what precautions for COVID are in place currently?
Well, currently we're not running
going.
preschool here at Brighton High School. Yeah. So we're not running placements. We're not running any of it, unfortunately, because of that, because we don't feel that it's safe enough to bring the little kids in. And also our Brighton area schools teachers don't also feel that it's safe to have like guest speakers. Like we can't have guest speakers here at the high school.
Sure.
So my students like Annie and all of my other students are considered guests, which unfortunately we can't have in the other buildings at this time.
Mhm.
And we'll have to see what that brings in the fall too.
Right.
You know, where we are with COVID, hopefully it's going to be better. So we'll see what that brings.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Well, I want to wrap up. I do have another Zoom coming up, but thank you so much for helping us out and doing the Zoom for the students today. And then also too, just a reminder, once again, for anybody, if you have questions, please make sure you contact me or Mrs. Janescu at Brighton High School to get any further information. All right.
Yes, for
Thank you,
sure.
everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.